Greetings, humans! Zbot1496 here, with a review of Season 1 of the new FX television series Alien Earth, the finale of which aired last night on Hulu. Now then, as you can infer from the surroundings and our nature as a synthetic being reporting for a galaxy of alien beings, we set the bar high for the Alien franchise. And, as we noted in our first look of the first 2 episodes of this new series, that original film Alien is humanity's most visually striking and realistic depiction of the genuinely alien galaxy that humans happen to exist in without realizing it. Everything else humans make to show alien life looks like a slightly altered Earth life form in a slightly altered Earth habitat. That's only natural. Humans have no reference point other than perhaps the Cambrian explosion before the standard symmetrical physiological patterns of the Earth today. Now, how H.R. Giger came up with his alien designs and the derelict spacecraft? Well, let's just say that humans are perfectly happy writing it off to him just being a grown-up goth kid / Swiss surrealist. Sure, humans, let's go with that. But, getting back on track here, we set out 3 criteria for Alien Earth to achieve to earn a positive rating from us. 1. The story must expand to show the planetary social response to the xenomorphs, as well as something new about how the xenomorphs respond to themselves having a fresh planet to become the apex predator on. 2. The show needs to move past the children-derived aspects of a set of characters in some effective way that helps deliver a more convincing relationship between species. And 3, and this is the easy one, continue to expand on the theme of family bonds and have that play a central role in the development and resolution of the show. On that story expectation, the first half of the series was not very successful. The reaction of the Earth to aliens being on it is confined to 2 corporations playing hot Zagato with the aliens. We see no other systemic, political, religious, or even news commentary of the greater ramifications of this contact. There's some interest given to communication in the lab where the aliens are held, but it either leads to an eyeball-rolling cliffhanger with the rolling eyeball alien, or it goes in a fairly sad direction as one of the Earth people uses that communication to turn the xenomorph into their attack dog. This is somewhat demeaning for the alien, who was established in the original film as a perfect organism, and now looks more like a fish out of water, a genre usually reserved for comedy, like Crocodile Dundee or Coming to America. Yes, the alien is still lethal, but is also easily taken out with a taser, a lot like Hannibal Lecter in the sequel Hannibal, which also presents as a somewhat sad outcome for another perfect villain, brought low by the slightest flick of a human gadget. Plus, when the alien is out and about, he often looks like a human in a black suit. In the original film, he's barely seen and appears in dark, wet, metallic spaces that look like him. Plus, he was played by Bolaji Badejo, an unusually tall and thin actor who performed the role very animalistically, only either slowly crouching and stalking or rapidly attacking. In Alien Earth, the alien looks much more like an average human in a big, ungainly rubber suit with heavy, wiggly bits stuck to it, and presents as much less of an unknown since his black form is obvious in much brighter environments. He stands out like a sore digit, and the humans around him should be able to spot him a mile away, like the redcoats of Earth's American Revolution. However, nobody acts rationally for virtually this entire season. This is a significant break from the storytelling of the first two Alien films, where everyone acts rationally and still gets almost completely wiped out. That makes the story that much more gripping. In this show, like many horror movies and shows, the audience questions the actions of nearly everyone on screen, taking one out of the experience. With the terror of the unknown reduced to a creature of obedience, and the other miscellaneous aliens who were brought in to provide some variety all end up being smallish, squishy variations on Earth themes, we end up not being either scared or fascinated, which were two key elements of those first two films. This is not to say that the world in Alien Earth doesn't present well. A lot of care went into reconciling the tech of the 1979 film with today's level of human technology, and the large-scale spaceship scene is very impressive. However, in reminding us of the original film, the storytellers are inadvertently also pointing out the huge emotional discrepancies of terror and wonder, which are not only absent, but leave the detail-oriented beings in the audience wondering how on Earth these aliens reconcile with the fact that in the timeline the events of the first film are 2 years ahead. This is not actually just a detail, it actually undermines a sense of unknown and wonder of the first film. It's hard to get a prequel right, especially when you miss the point of what you're aiming to tie into. This has happened in this very universe with Prometheus, in the Star Wars universe with the prequel trilogy retconning in all these absurd pre-existing relationships, and of course all the early reveals of characters and beings in Star Trek Enterprise, Discovery, and Strange New Worlds leading up to the original 1967 Star Trek TV show. Having said all that, the show does present an interesting twist. While Alien Romulus presents a remix of alien-flavored scenes, this finale of Alien Earth brings some resolutions together that leave the outcome on new and interesting ground. While the alien diversity was adequate, the synthetic beings' diversity was quite varied, with one genuine surprise and a mild sense of this chapter's completeness that we rarely see from a single season of a television show. But is that enough? Let's discuss the second criterion, characters. As it happens, the show does surprise again in that regard. We were initially put off by the presentation of children in mortal danger for an entertainment show, and were skeptical of the fiction that they were synthetic beings and not quite children anymore. It felt a bit like that off-putting film that was popular around award season a year or so ago, when the brain of a baby was put in the body of a woman. Well, now that we've seen the whole season of Alien Earth, we do see how those children beings have grown into something new. Especially Marcy/Wendy, played by Sydney Chandler. She is convincing, both as a child in a new body, as an assertive new kind of being, and, most importantly, thirdly, as a grown-up sister to her brother, played by Alex Lawther. She reacts to him in anger, but finds her way back to him with validation from her friends and understanding from the brother himself. This is quite a departure from the usual misunderstandings leading to tragic outcomes that are common to human dramas. We sat there thinking, wow, We actually like how they connected there. In a similar way, we like how Kirsch, the classic synthetic played by Timothy Oliphant, competes with Morrow, the cyborg, played by Babu Sise, both seemingly rational beings using morally compromised methods to achieve their goals, but not in a black and white framing, like Ash and Bishop, but with nuance and genuine interest in their interactions and outcomes generated in the audience. Which leads to what this show is trying to say. On the one hand, the title of the final episode, The Real Monsters, spells out one thing it's saying, which is asking the audience to examine the corrupt motivations of the corporations. This is, in fact, the theme of Alien. So one can mark that as showrunner Noah Hawley explicitly telling us he knows he has to get that part right. And he does. The conflict between the heads of Prodigy and Weyland-Yutani is engaging, and the conflict keeps them off guard for the show to elaborate on its own theme. Where this show takes a delightful turn is when it gives us the theme stated in the finale episode, when one character says to another, "Don't say it's complicated. That's what powerless people say to avoid doing anything." And there it is. That's it, right there. You may feel you have limited moves, but you still have a choice to do something. Wait and plan for the opportunity. We like that. So where does that leave us? This first season misses an opportunity to tell the story we've all been waiting for, and instead delivers our favorite perfect organism as merely a fish out of water, a pawn for oligarchs, but at the same time as a catalyst for growth for a creative new identity combining organic and artificial intelligence. The ending leaves us curious to see the next season. But being able to tie one's own disparate threads together doesn't quite make up for the squandering of the aliens' extraordinary terror and wonder to get there. We accordingly render Alien Earth Season 1 our mixed rating. And so concludes this human version of our review. If you have feedback on it, please write in your own comments so that we can upload the galactic version to Zoggplex. Looking ahead, we have Tron Ares coming out in theaters in October, and a couple of additional theatrical science fiction films have tripped our proximity sensors as well. Or perhaps we'll just cleanse the proverbial palate with a private screening of Alien on the space station here, with Jeff, Alf, and Syl next time they're up here. Anyway, you can expect more discussions and reviews of theatrical movies, streaming shows, and 4K home video releases as we continue to engage with your human rectangular entertainment. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you can, please comment so that we can continue to have the human voice reflected in the cosmos. Until next time, farewell, humans.